All right, everybody. Welcome back to the PnB podcast, episode 3. I'm Payton.
I'm Brandon.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell a funny joke, but
I mean, you told me that I'm not allowed to be funny on your podcast anymore.
it's not just my podcast. You own a portion of the company, probably.
Okay. Am I allowed to sell it for a $19 Fortnite card?
What? Sell out?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you think I could sell my rights to this podcast for a $19 Fortnite card?
If you give me if I give you a $19 Fortnite card, would you give me your sole rights to this podcast?
Probably yes. I mean, I might. It's a big business decision. A lot of decisions to be made there.
Put
But
your
I'm
fucking
thinking,
keys down, you degenerate.
I'm thinking that I would probably yes, absolutely, yeah.
That can be arranged very, very easily.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we have a topic today, don't we?
We do. I believe we're going to be talking about some D&D stories and some
Yeah.
stuff about it.
The nerdiest possible topic we could talk about, really.
I mean, it's something that interests us both, and it's something that I think introduces a lot of people that listen to the podcast, from our friends
To our friends.
to our friends.
Yeah. Our audience is literally like a couple people. I don't think there's anybody that I don't personally know that doesn't listen to this, so.
That's true.
Who cares?
If you don't know me or Peyton, give us, I don't know, like, put a comment in the YouTube video or something. I don't know.
Or like, I don't know, contact me personally. Fucking why?
Send me an email. I'm not giving you my email, but send one. Find me.
We have our email on the podcast channel description.
We do?
So, yeah, it's in the little about section. You wouldn't know because you haven't messed with any of it.
Yeah, I mean, because you run it all.
Yeah.
I sit in the chair and tell jokes.
You sit in the chair and you talk about $19 Fortnite card.
I only mentioned it one time.
Yeah.
Well, I
fair.
did at the end of the last one, but it ended up getting cut.
You know,
but
it's for quality's sake, you know?
yeah, that's fair.
Whatever. Yeah, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons because we're nerds.
Yeah.
And we like the clicky clacky math rock dice and
Yeah,
playing
math-
with our friends.
Yes. So to start out, let's just talk about some general experiences, like how much we've done D&D really.
So, okay, let's start. I know you have definitely not been doing it for as long as I have.
No. I started like maybe my sophomore year of high school was the first time I played it, and it's just been like it was just a couple of one shots every once in a while with some friends. I had a point, I think the summer after my senior year, where I played it with a couple of people like once a week, but it was just a continual set of one shots rather than me doing it. But the first time I actually joined a real campaign was in your campaign last year around Halloween.
Absolutely, buddy. I've personally been playing Dungeons and Dragons since 5th edition came out in like I think it was 2014. I asked for the starter set, got it for my parents because it was like $15-$20. And I ran Lost Mines of Phandelver for a couple of friends.
And nobody liked it because it was Lost Mines of Phandelver, I would assume.
No, it's actually a pretty good module. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
It's good to get new players in, especially for a brand new edition like we had.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't afford the player's handbook, we just played with the pre-made characters that kind of sucked, but
Yeah.
it worked good enough. So I've been playing since 2014, on and off at the beginning, just running one-shots, running that Lost Mines of Phandelver campaign, and not really being super involved in it, and just kind of letting it sit for a little bit. But then it was around my junior year of high school, I got really back into it, started playing a lot more with friends, looked for a session online in my area, met some cool people through that, played in a really long campaign. And once I got to college, I started running regular games, participating in regular D&D games. And
I started playing those games.
Yep, and I just got sort of ingrained into the culture of it, too, through like YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, whatever, just social media stuff, and hearing people like finding YouTubers that talk about it, stuff like that. I mean, it's really how you get into like any fandom or hobby or whatever. You just find people you like talking about it, and you just get into it, man. So now that we know, like, you know, how we've gotten to it, how have we like like, oh, I don't know how to talk about. How have you liked D&D so far?
Well, I want to talk about it on the podcast, so clearly I like it.
Clearly, it's something that we care about at the very least.
I mean, it's really been changing a lot. I think I've always kind of liked it since I started playing in college. I mean, with your first campaign, it was like my first like real campaign, so I enjoyed like every session that we did.
Absolutely.
And then the more recent one, it's been a little on and off, but pretty consistently. I've been very invested through the whole campaign.
Nice.
And the recent one that I'm starting now, I am very excited to be doing.
For me, it's so when I started a campaign our first year of college last year, it was last fall semester. It was the first time I'd ever DM'd an actual campaign with people that I'd never met before. I had never met Brandon or any of our other friends that were in that group and that still play with us. It was literally through like meeting them in random places and being like, "Hey, you want to play D&D?" Like with Brandon, he was originally just a friend of someone who played D&D with us.
Correct.
And he joined my campaign, and like our friend Gage, I met him through, I had an English class with him. One day I walked up to him and was like, "Hey, you look pretty cool. You want to play D&D?" He said, "Fine, whatever."
Gage and I became friends because I gave him a Dr. Pepper, and then we went to the gym together.
Yeah.
That's the exact story.
That's how friendships are born, man.
Dr. Pepper, am I right?
Dr. Pepper's fucking garbage.
I stopped drinking Dr. Pepper recently because I realized that it's a gross soda.
It's terrible.
I also remembered that despite it being like the like generic like soda, Coca-Cola is a really good soda. Like just like a plain Coke is so satisfying.
I don't know. I've never been a cola man. I can't drink Coke or Pepsi, dude.
Man.
I like orange Fanta. That shit's good. Or Sprite.
It feels less sugary when you have a non-fruity drink, though.
It does.
I don't know why.
It definitely does. That's why I drink Sprite.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel sugary. It just feels like clean. Back to Dungeons and Dragons.
I think how about we just have a little bit of a talk about what that first campaign was like, some of the people we met there, characters.
In that campaign, it was the first time I'd ever ran a continuous campaign throughout multiple weeks. We met every Friday night. No, it was Thursdays.
Correct. Yeah.
We started playing on Thursday nights. It's only recently that we moved up to Fridays. We started on Thursday nights in the fall. Originally, you weren't in the first session. You joined in the second session.
Yeah, that's correct.
It was my now roommate Grant played with us. He played an Aarakocran rogue, so he played a bird person.
Yeah.
Named Turner. We had Gage, who his first character was a.
Was it not a?
It was a gnome who was a druid.
Yeah.
Named Gnom.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it that he was actually a bear that was a druid that changed into a gnome?
Yeah. That was the joke.
Yeah. So he actually weighed as much as a bear, and yeah.
Then we had our friend Cannon playing a fighter named Solomon.
Yeah.
Based off of like the Knights of the Round Table Arthurian shit, which was pretty cool. And then we had our friend Devin playing a cleric named Malice.
Yeah.
And
Death
then
cleric.
In the second session, Brandon finally joined in, playing his character Callista.
The third.
Of the House Inferno.
Yeah. That is something that everybody has memorized because that campaign ended up being quite short. But
it ran from September to December. Not short.
Yeah.
But short compared to the one we have now, which has ran for a year.
Yeah. And as a result of it being kind of short like that, I really wasn't like satisfied with how much I had played the character that I was doing at the time. So I just made another character.
Who was the exact same?
I mean,
same name.
Really. Yeah, same name. A direct descendant. And as a result of me playing the same character that is also a noble for a year, I forced him to introduce himself in the exact same manner to everybody in the way that a noble would.
Yeah. So, by the way, Cliss is a bard.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be the only class that Brandon knows how to play.
That's not true. I just have only ever played bards because I have only ever
Play
played.
Callista.
I mean, I've played 3 different characters. I cannot play martial classes.
No,
It's just not how I rule.
you have to be a spell slinger.
I mean, I played Calista the Third, and then I ended up doing Calista the Ninth, and now it's Night Terror engages new campaign.
All right, Night Terror is a fucking mess. He's a fucking kobold warlock.
And it's really fun.
Yeah, it seems fun. I'm not in that one. So that was it was a very basic fun fantasy romp through a world that I created all by myself. It's just a big ass world with 4 continents on it. A mountain splits them all. They traveled for a little bit and they went through a little forested region, and then they transitioned over to the desert.
We got to Goldhaven. Fun fact, that's where my current campaign is. Can't wait for that to come back.
We've had 3 whole campaigns set in the exact same world that I created.
I mean, to be a bit more, to be fair, in my campaign, I've changed up a lot of things of the world.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty fair to say that the only thing in like that original world that carries over to my current campaign
is all the lore.
Is the map. And like all the lore stuff that we collectively have kind of created, and most of it isn't very relevant to the campaign all that much. Really. It's kind of fresh in that kind of way, I think.
It really is.
It's a very fresh take on an old world that we've used.
So moving on, that campaign ended due to me being a little burned out on the generic fantasy genre and wanting to transition over to something a little bit more like serious in tone. So I killed the party.
You tried to kill the party
and failed for 2 of them. It was not a good thing for me as a DM to kill my players.
No, I mean actually, what's odd about it is that you tried to kill the party, and you got so tantalizingly close.
I only ended up killing 2 of the 5 players.
Yeah, and you really only killed 1 because Turner should have lived.
Yeah, that's about it. Grant's flipping me off right now.
Grant's a little annoyed about it.
Yeah, he has been. I know. It was a bad decision on my part, and I have learned in my year of DMing straight
I think what's very interesting about playing D&D is definitely how much I've gotten better at like telling stories as a result of it.
Exactly.
And I think that seeing a big change in like DMing style over the course of it has been kind of like interesting. Like, I mean, like at the beginning of it, there was a lot of like unpreparedness for like both of us, and like getting detailed and making it about the characters was not exactly a thing that we were both very good at. But I'm finding that as time has went on, we've both gotten a lot better about making our stories about the characters more than about the world.
Yeah. So moving on, we had our winter break for that semester. We didn't really keep in touch all that much. I hadn't really gotten any of their contact information, but we came back, and I at least had you guys on Discord. So I messaged you guys and I was like, hey, let's get together. I have an idea for a new campaign. We all got together, and I basically laid out to them, I want to do a campaign in the same world. But it was how long? 800 years later?
Not nearly that much.
It was. I think it was maybe 600.
Pause for a sec. Maybe not tell the story of all of our campaigns. Maybe we could just do a few little highlights instead. Because it's gonna be like 40 minutes of us just going through this, and I don't think it'll be very interesting.
Fair.
Yeah.
So after that, we started a new one. We're not going to tell the entire story of it because we've been playing it for a year. It's gotten really complicated in lore and shit.
I think it would be very good is to kind of pick some big highlights of the campaign.
Yeah, so the basic premise is the same world, but technology's advanced up to around World War One era, and it's gotten more complicated. There's like guns and shit. There's robot mechs. It's pretty cool, steampunky, magical shit.
I think if I remember correctly, it took place 600 years, I think, after the original one.
Maybe.
Because because of the course of the first campaign, Gnam ended up getting turned to stone.
Yeah.
And that was kind of how that was like our final little quest that we did, was trying to go get a greater restoration potion. And during that, Gage played another character based off of Alistair from Has Been Hotel. And by based off of, I mean it just was.
Yeah.
And like after the campaign, there was a big world event where he basically took over.
Yeah, and then just yada yada yada.
Background story: he ended up falling. A big dark age, another empire rises up, and that's where our campaign kind of started. Was out of this empire and the reformation of various different things.
Yep, and then we started Viva la Revolution.
Yeah,
and that's the basic premise. So now in our party, we've had a lot of people in this campaign by now.
Yeah.
But the main three have been Brandon, Grant, and Gage, who, well, we've already explained Brandon's playing his character Callista the Ninth.
Yeah, Callista, ninth in the name of the House Inferno, heir to the throne.
General douchebag.
I mean, like, I've argued a lot with a lot of people about the character, and of course that's just kind of natural, because I'm the only one who kind of, like, understands the character, because I wrote the character.
Of course.
But, I mean, I think it's a really good example of how you can get really invested in D&D very quickly. Like just thinking about how much I've like sat down and thought about like this character and his mannerisms and the way that he thinks.
Yeah, that's the one thing I find the most fun about D&D is building just a full fleshed out human character with emotions and goals and aspirations and just kind of making their story your own.
Yeah, I think that I don't remember I think I was talking to Libby the other day. And we were talking about how to just like get better at role playing, because she's new to it and she's joining into my campaign Engages. And I mentioned that there's kind of like two different kinds of D&D players. There's the kind of D&D players that kind of want to do everything very improv-y, like just very off the dome, just like very wacky zany characters. And I think I use it as an example because like that's a perfectly fine character to make, but I was mentioning how it's a kind of a very fine balance.
Yeah.
Because
you have to balance the funny and the serious, like with anything.
I wanted to, like, I specifically made the example of, like, there's a very big distinction between like, a lot of new players of D&D take, like, nothing seriously. It's the, you walk in a room and there's a pot of coffee in the center of it. I piss in the pot of coffee.
Exactly.
Like,
that type of, like, because when you get told, oh, it's D&D, you can do anything, they take that to mean literally anything.
I mean, and you can, but the whole point of it is, of course, you're role playing and
you're telling a story.
Yeah, you're supposed to have an element of realism, and I was using the example of like how Gage and I are very different players in that kind of way.
Exactly.
Gage is a very he's a very spontaneous, like not really like detail orientated kind of person when it comes to it.
Sort of like
he writes good backstories and details, but he's not exactly
he's definitely a
let me sit down for 4 hours and get my character's personality down very, very tightly. It's very like, here's my character, here's some basic traits, let me portray them per session, and I'll kind of roll with it and adapt the character as it needs to be as the world gets more complicated.
Yeah. It's definitely a spontaneous, like, I do what seems cool to me, not what the character would do.
No, that's not necessarily what it is. It's very much like, he just doesn't, it's one of those things where, like, it's one of those things where he does do what characters do, right? Like these kind of people would do what their characters would do. It's just what their characters would do isn't like defined in several pages that they've written about the character.
And also, that's not. They're two completely valid ways
And then there's like the way that I play D&D, which is
You write a
that
novel for your backstory.
I don't exactly write a novel, but I definitely sit down and I think for hours. I get like, okay, this is the complexities of the character. How do I portray that? How do I think about that? And no matter what I do, I can never portray all of those things in any given session or in general because it's so hard to like completely transfer over into an entirely different human being.
Well, and it's also, you're telling a story with other people,
Oh yeah,
and that kind of, you can't make it all about your character's arc all the time.
yeah. Absolutely.
Sometimes you have to be in the background and be a supporting character too, which is still really fun.
Oh yeah.
I find it's really fun to like just step back for a second and play a supporting character whenever your character is already a little more involved in the story than other ones.
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of one of the things that I definitely learned over the course of that last campaign. Was the very beginning. I had a character that was very, very naturally. I mean, I do still have a character that's very, very naturally involved in it, and I made a realization the other day actually while watching a video about
Yeah.
D&D. Specifically, I watched a video about how to get how as a DM you can get your players to roleplay a little bit better and be more into it.
Exactly.
And one of the things they mentioned was that mention is like almost trying to force your players into making a backstory that naturally makes their characters invested in the story, basically, right? Which is, I think, a thing that I've seen a lot of people that aren't very good at role playing, or don't role play very well at the table. Like they kind of fail at, right?
Yeah.
Like when I wrote Callista, I wrote him as like, oh yes, he's from an imperial family. We're fighting the Empire, and the whole point of his character is him trying to go against his teachings. That naturally puts him right in the middle of the plot, makes him very important. Or like Constantine's whole thing is like he's ex-imperial and he's pacifist and he's trying to like kind of repent, basically. He's trying to get away from the sins of his past. Versus like, for example, Ash, Grant's character, was always just like, he's a part of the rebellion. He grew up in the rebellion. His parents were murdered by the Empire, so he must have killed them, right? Like,
Yeah.
So he hates
Very
the Empire.
simple, very just run of the mill character.
But it doesn't naturally lend to any kind of complexity to the character or any like extra stuff to it.
Which also gives him a lot of freedom in how to play him and how to interact with others.
Yeah.
And it leads to a lot of very interesting and funny moments.
Oh yeah.
Because for the most part, he just plays himself.
Yeah.
Which is really cool to see him interact with these different, like, super serious things when Grant's just a silly guy naturally.
Oh yeah.
I think one of the biggest examples of that is any time we're in like a super like negotiations with like a bad guy or whatever, and he's just like, I don't know, why don't you just kill him? And it's just he says probably the most obvious thing, and I can't help myself but from laughing at it.
Yeah.
It's just like, damn. I mean, I didn't think of that, but you certainly did.
Yeah, and I think that like we shouldn't kind of get it wrong that like we play super serious campaigns all the
No,
time.
we don't. We really
There's definitely
don't.
some very like funny moments that have kind of happened during our campaign to like
Most of them being me as a dungeon master just fucking up.
or I mean like some things that happened in the world during that campaign are like, for example, like when Alistair showed up and he was just a turtle.
Yeah.
Like that's quite humorous. Or like to talk about my campaign, like the entire concept of laser chrome as a character,
Oh god.
which Payton says, "Oh God," because he doesn't like characters with funny voices that I make. I make a lot of characters with very funny voices, and he just doesn't like characters with annoying voices. But he kind of talks like Sonic the Hedgehog, and he claims to be the greatest musician in the world.
His name's Laser Chrome
Yeah.
because he wears entirely silver clothes.
He wears entirely a like red skin tight jumpsuit and like an entirely silver, basically like Daft Punk like helmet,
Yeah.
and just drives around the world on a semi that's filled with amps and just shredding the fuck out of his guitar. Screaming to everybody that he's the greatest musician in the world. Well, second best.
Yeah.
After Callista Inferno
All
himself.
right. All right, kiss ass. But let's talk about some just straight dumb ass shit that's happened in D&D. There's one shining example.
Front deck gang.
Yeah, okay. Some context. In my campaign, around the beginning, they acquired an airship, like, you know, classic your steampunk flying boat.
I acquired an airship.
All right, don't get in character here. Basically, they got an airship, and at some point, that airship crashed. I say in parentheses. It got held in place.
Yeah.
It stopped very suddenly.
And being that we were on a moving airship that then stopped, everything that wasn't tied down got thrown forward, including all of our characters.
Yeah. Some people were down below the deck, so they just got smacked into the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But Callista was sitting in the cockpit.
Yeah, basically, of this airship.
And
Which, the way that had been explained to me was literally just like an actual ship tied to a big-ass balloon to make a Zeppelin.
It's basically just a yacht with a Zeppelin on the front of it.
Yeah.
On top of it. With, like, steel cables holding it.
Yeah.
And something I forgot is that in most modern boats...
Not even most boats, in literally every boat ever designed by mankind.
Yeah, it's in the back, not the front.
What?
The steering wheel.
Yeah.
And
also, even if it is closer to the front, the front section of the boat,
also known as the front deck.
Also known as, you know, that little flat part at the front of the boat, the front deck.
Yeah.
Exists on every boat.
And I forgot that.
Yeah. So when it stopped, my character was immediately thrown through the front windshield, and I said, "Okay, well then I land on the front deck." And he goes, "No, you don't.
Yeah.
There is no front deck."
So we had probably was it closer to 20 or 30 minutes?
It was probably closer to 20-minute.
Of us arguing on how this ship was constructed.
Yeah, basically, it was
I
a big.
tried to draw it out on paper, but I'm no Picasso.
And then you immediately drew a boat with a front deck.
Yes.
And I was like, Payton, look at it.
And then I looked at it and realized I am not smart.
And we have never forgiven him.
No.
That's the story.
It will forever stay in my brain, and now it is forever immortalized onto the internet.
Yeah. You're really clicking back there, aren't you, Grant?
Sorry. I'll calm down. I'll play something else.
Why don't we welcome Grant on?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Grant.
You want to be on the podcast?
Fuck. Okay.
You want to talk about D&D for a bit?
Sure, I've got nothing better to do. I was literally playing Osu, so.
Alright, welcome our best friend Grant to the podcast, also known as my roommate.
Yeah.
Yes, the first guest, the guy who's always here.
Yeah, in previous episodes you might have heard clicking in the background.
Sorry.
Or typing.
Sorry.
Or Minecraft chests opening. That was him.
Yeah.
Or grunting as he played VR in the first episode.
That's fair. I was playing Blade and Sorcery. It's very good.
It is a good dude, VR's fucking so nice.
It's sick.
But yeah, he has been in every single one of our D&D campaigns so far, and he's always played in them, and he usually just plays characters that are just completely normal people.
Yeah. I think the only campaign that I've been in that Grant hasn't been in is Gage's campaign that he only has one session and it's on the weekend, so Grant can't go.
And
Yeah.
I tried to be in it, but it's on the weekends, so I
can't go.
Yeah.
I swear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I can't fucking go. There we go.
Yeah, I clicked the little YouTube thing where it says not made for kids. It has the explicit tag on Spotify.
Good, because that, dude, if
That's
it's made
right.
for kids, you can't use that
That's
mini
right,
player.
Mom.
No, man.
This one isn't for the little ones.
Oh, it's not.
Jesus.
We say the fuck word all the time.
And it's
Yeah.
noteworthy that I would be playing VR right now. My fucking car broke down earlier, so I had the great idea of inviting my friends to fucking roll it down the streets of Vincennes back to a parking lot.
So, he's a little tired.
A little. My thumbs hurt.
That's fair.
I don't know why I'm playing rhythm games when my thumb hurts, but whatever.
Maybe I can crack open some VR after we're done.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Crack open a virtual reality with the boys.
Well, I'll probably go back to my dorm. I have things to do in the morning.
That's
But
fair. Oh, tomorrow's Thursday. I have things.
I don't have anything to do in the morning. I got class at 2, bitches.
Nerd.
So we're talking about D&D. You have any funny ass D&D stories to tell?
Oh god, you told Front Deck a second ago, and that's like my favorite one
We
ever.
did. What
Oh,
about?
I do have that character they talked about earlier, Turner. I had a bag of holding, which I got very early on as one of my first relics. And at the time, I was really worried about ammo because I was very new to the game.
So he was really worried that he was ever going to run out of arrows for his longbow. You know,
So
he was a sniper.
every time we went to his shop, I would use all of my relic money and what have you in gold to buy arrows
Every arrow in the shop. By the end of the campaign, he had about 700 arrows
Give
in his
or
bag of
take.
holding,
Yeah.
and more in his quiver.
I was going to break the bag and use it like a bomb, but I got blown up by flavor text.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's unfortunate, but true. It's okay. I do have a good one. Also having to do with the airship. At the very beginning of our campaign,
Oh no.
Gage was playing a different character named John, who was a cowboy.
Oh, I love
Big
I
old
have-
rough and tumble cowboy.
I know you're not gonna tell this detail, but I'm gonna tell it after you're done with the story. That really
Stop fucking with that thing, dude. It's making noise.
Damn. Okay. I got those ADHD fingers. I can't help it.
I don't know.
He's
Fucking
bored. Well, I got a stress ball. I got you. Hold up.
yeah. Just pull a stress ball out. Play with some fucking I don't know.
Give me something to do with the fingers.
Stress ball.
Yeah. Squeeze a stress ball.
Okay.
You damn bitch. So, Callista and John were they were paired together from the start. They were sort of like a mentor and student relationship.
More like old man and young hotshot,
Yeah, yeah.
like
the-
Han Solo and Luke Skywalker.
Well, more like old cop who's about to retire and the young new hotshot on the force
Yeah.
for going
basically.
cop movies.
Abusive dad and son.
Yeah. That's about right.
Yeah.
So they had one mission where they had to infiltrate a place, and Callista was like, "Okay, John, you take the airship."
No.
Oh wait, no.
Here's how it actually went down.
Yeah.
This was the first time we got the airship. Let's
Oh,
begin
it
with
was.
this, right?
We all
Yeah.
have terrible memories.
We were all staying at Callista. He's nobility, in case you haven't picked that up.
He had a summer home in the beach.
Yeah. And we were in a beach town, and I was like, would my family have a beach house here?
I was like, yeah, of course.
So that was our base of operations for this mission. And after kind of staying at this beach home for a hot sec, we were like, okay, at this time, all of our characters are going to meet back together, and we're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And during that, I was like, okay, what can I get here? What's a good mode of transportation so we can exit quickly? And I was like, let's see what Daddy's money will get me. So I called and got an airship just for free.
For no reason.
Yeah, I was like, hey, can I have an airship? And he was like, yup.
Yep. Fuck it. Bye.
So we went to go get the airship, me and John, flew it back to the house. Everybody else was gone.
Yeah.
Everybody else had already, I think, left to do the mission
Yes.
Yes.
for some reason, despite the fact that it wasn't time yet.
None of our characters realized that he had gone to get the airship. We thought he went to the mission without us, and even though in meta we knew, in character we didn't. So we thought he went on without us, and we
So
tried
they
to pick
just
up
left.
the slack.
Yep. So the main mission was they had to infiltrate a fancy dinner party, and they had to assassinate a local governor.
So,
That was super fun.
so Callista, what he did was he just took the airship, landed, crashed the party, and went, yo, I'm Callista Inferno. And they went, okay, and let him in.
They went like, "Yo, I sick." While John snuck around to the basement.
No. John walked up to the front door and said, I'm a wanted criminal. And they said, okay, you're under arrest.
And then they threw him in the basement, which had a jail cell in it.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, I forgot that happened.
And
And then our druid, Devin, our druid, I don't remember his character's name.
Adelaide.
Malice.
Adelaide.
Oh, Adelaide, sorry. They're always fancy.
Yeah, Adelaide used Pass Without a Trace and snuck into the basement and then freed John.
And then
Following this, the
they finished the mission.
the
boss fight
guy
happened.
the guy came down. They shot the shit out of him. It was not a boss fight. It took 2 turns.
It did.
They got a big surprise on him. Absolutely destroyed him. And then we all left except for Callista, who was like, John, punch me in the face.
Yeah, so it looks like he got assaulted by the criminals.
Yeah, so he can get away without having to sneak away. So
he
John knocked him the
Callisto
fuck out.
Yeah.
And then John was like, "How do I escape?" I know. And
The
he
airship.
took the airship. First session, I got it.
I do remember him going to punch you and like scoring like a 19.
Yeah.
So it's just like whoops.
And then, what happened after that was John started to fly away with this airship. They started chasing afterwards. So he said, I pointed up into the air, turned the engine off,
And jump out.
and dive out. And I went, yeah, okay. And he's like, that sounds like a good idea. And then he dove out, got to shore, and Payton was like, you're not getting that airship back.
Yeah.
And we were like, why? And we'll get to the reason why in just a second. Because it's an entirely different thing we're going to talk about. And we were like, okay, yeah. And then I was like, wait a minute. All of our stuff was on that airship. All of our
Everybody's
special
equipment.
weaponry, some of our armor. I didn't have any armor or weapons.
And my
because of this event.
character, as an artificer, left his materials bag with his weapons on that
He
ship.
kneecapped the entire party.
I lost everything.
And so as a result, I was both in and out of character a little angry, and in character very angry. And I roleplayed it apparently a little too well.
Yeah. I thought you were actually pissed at me.
Oh no, I was not.
Yeah, of course.
I was just very good at role playing. We had a very tense role play thing where both John and Callista got some very good moments.
Mm-hmm.
The most of them being subtler. Well, John's being very subtle. And then it basically ended in a small fiasco that basically ended up with that whole thing at the airship being retconned.
I was just about to say, would you call the window subtle?
No, it was not subtle.
Yeah, him crashing through the window was a little less subtle. Oh, did you guys talk about dimensional defenestration?
Yes.
We did not talk about dimensional defenestration.
His ability.
Yeah, Callista has a semi-canon ability that if he gets thrown through a window,
He phases through reality.
he
for a
briefly
second.
becomes intangible, and that is canonically how he fell off the ship despite there being a front deck.
Yeah, sure.
Does-
I said that about 2 sessions afterwards to be like, you know what? Sure. There's a reason.
And
Of course
hilariously,
there's a reason.
we used that later in a fight, I swear.
We did.
We did.
we did during John's last session. It was like, how do we solve this puzzle room? I know. Throw Callista out the window.
No, they threw him because you guys were supposed to get into a lower floor, so they threw him through a second floor window. He passed down into the first floor locked door, and then unlocked it from the inside.
Yes.
I remember that. That was at like what I thought was a bar at the time. I was pretty out of it.
It was an old saloon.
That's it.
Yeah.
We'll find cowboys.
So
It was sick.
But the reason why this airship disappeared, right, is because we all went, okay, so why aren't we getting the airship back? Out of character.
and I said,
And Payton said, and I quote,
quote,
about a mile up in the air, there's a portal to the moon that covers the entire sky. We said, what? And he explained nothing else.
yeah,
That's it.
you don't need to know anything else.
I, to this day, still have no idea what that means, where it came from, if it means anything. I know for a matter of fact it's not going anywhere in his current campaign. He says he's not going to run anything else in the world, so it's useless information. It's just a thing.
Yep.
So it doesn't exist in my campaign,
Send
despite...
Sonyati to the moon. Send me to the moon.
Send him to the moon.
Send me to the moon. I want
Go
to
to
see
the
it.
moon, baby.
I want cheese.
Just like the GME stock to the moon.
We're finally gonna do the ration system. I'm just gonna steal the moon cheese and we're gonna eat that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a moment of being a stubborn dumbass and being like, if you do something stupid, I'm gonna make you pay for it. And not thinking of the repercussions of saying something stupid like there's a portal to the moon a mile above the sky.
Was that actually it?
For the record, he had to
Was
retcon
that... that was genuinely
Yeah,
it? You were just
that was
like,
it.
if you're going to do something stupid, I'm going to...
I'm gonna punish you.
He did say a singular mile though, so later he had to retcon that because he doesn't realize how long a mile is.
Yeah.
We're like, what?
It's
Like-
like what? How do planes function?
Bro, you go
I'm
into like a
fucking
tall building, it's just
Why is this not common information? There's airships all over the place.
Well, I don't fucking know. They haven't found it yet.
So it doesn't exist in my world. That's just not canon.
Yeah, of course.
We finally learned what the meaning was. It's that Peyton's a dickhead and we love him.
It's that Payton didn't think something that he said through.
Oh, that's everything I said.
Yeah, like that time he gave Constantine nuclear launch codes.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had to hide them from him
Yeah.
and make him forget that they existed. Gage, don't listen to this part.
Yeah, they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, whatever.
Ash got rid of them.
Yeah, sure.
Ash decided the information was
Didn't I actually?
2 cents.
Yes,
Yeah.
you burned them.
Oh, fun.
No, I put them like in the ocean.
Yeah, a little fun fact actually. Just I remember this. In Nier Automata, it's a post-apocalyptic game,
Yeah.
and there's like a chest where you like when you open up some of the chests in it, you get little like books and archives from like the old world or whatever.
Yeah.
One of them was nuclear launch codes, and
Nice.
it's a mission where like this character's like, I want to learn information about the old world, and so you can search around, but that's the only item you need to find.
Yeah.
And if you find it, if you give it to them, they just go, I don't want that. Don't give that to me. And that's the end of the quest.
Throw that shit
Nice.
away.
Well, your option is either give it to them or give it to your like commander. At which point they're like, I don't think we should use this, but I'll put it in the files.
That's
It's
fair.
just like I don't think nukes are a good thing
We-
right now, but
Yeah,
alright then.
like I know this is like a worldwide threat and it's the apocalypse and we're trying to like win this war or whatever. We don't want nukes.
It's just too much.
we
man.
don't want some MAD in here.
It's
Yeah.
too much shit, man. But God, I think the thing that ties us all together with D&D is just the fact that when you break it down, it's just hanging out with friends
Yeah.
and having a good time and telling stories and saying dumbass jokes and letting probability fuck you directly in the ass.
Yeah, I think
All
that's-
the time.
I think that's what I'm trying to change with my current campaign is that there's really not a like there's not like an overarching story that I've planned.
Yeah.
Like not really. I'm still trying to decide with like the whole thing with that because of course we're on like session 2, but
It's all... It'd be cool if it was just a bunch of dumbass instances and stuff, you know?
I want there to be like an overarching story, especially as we get farther on. Ooh.
Yeah, cool stuff planned out. It's nice.
But
At some point, someone will annoy us, and we will try to kill them, and that would be
But
a problem. I assure you.
I would like to remind all in that campaign that Gage has officially used the party's you shouldn't do that. It will kill you warning in the second session.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a good story.
You
You
almost
should...
broke my neck.
So, I can tell this one. We were in a fight where we were fighting guys while both of us were in separate cars.
We won't steal this.
We were on the highway, and we were in one car, and they were in another. We were shooting at each other.
Yeah.
So, we start fighting. I kill 2 of the dudes. There's 1 left. Gage hops into the other car. Grant's character's in that car, too. He knocks the driver out, and then he's like, how do I stop this car? Okay, I'll pull the emergency brake.
On a car going
The-
at interstate speeds.
As an 80 miles per hour. And Brandon said, that's going to kill you, right? He's like, no, it's not. I can't die. And we're like, no, you can definitely die from that. Because if you pull the e-brake on a car going 80 miles an hour, the car's just going to flip
Correct. End over end.
directly on top of you.
Yeah, it's a convertible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was a convertible, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on the wheelbase, but it's D&D. We don't care that much.
I mean, I also said that it was a car that was built out of scrap, so not only would it flip, it would also just explode.
So,
And not in the fiery kind of way. In the, like, it would just shatter.
so Brandon used his one, don't do that.
One, Gage, you're not allowed to do that. That will kill you. That was, and that is his.
It's
that
not
is
that
his-
it would kill him, it's that it would kill Grant's character.
And
Yeah,
I
like,
just
I let-
started.
And I would let Gage kill his character in an instant immediately, but I won't let him kill his character and another character immediately in an instant.
Who didn't have a say in the matter at all.
Especially
Yeah.
because me starting the campaign was literally in that car in the trunk because I was being kidnapped. So if I
Yeah.
had died right after leaving the trunk, that would have been a little inconvenient.
Yeah, he unlocks the trunk, gets out, throws 1 punch, and then fucking dies.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be too much fun, now would it?
I would laugh a little too hard, but
Oh,
also
yeah.
be sad because now I can't use that character.
I mean, you could have just made a new character, but
Yeah, but I like this one.
yeah, it's fair.
Oh,
What do you like? I don't know any of the backstory. I mean, I'm supposed to be the DM, but I don't know anything about this
I
character.
told you
yet.
like 3 times.
We're not having this discussion.
I
now.
know.
Do we have any more? Do we have another really good dumb story to kind of wrap things up here? Man, it's hard to think of because there's always funny instances, but not a lot of really good stories about them.
Yeah, there's. I mean, it's hard to get a good like story going,
Especially out of context.
Oh yeah, of course. Because giving context and stuff would take an extra 20 fucking minutes with most of this stuff.
Let alone remembering how it actually
I got
happened.
one.
Oh,
Well,
Whenever we were when we were fighting the Rata,
okay.
no.
So some backstory. We had just started school in our fall semester in 2020, and Brandon comes up to me. He said, "Look at this. It's a German World War II prototype for a tank that is the size of a battleship."
it wasn't a tank. It wasn't a prototype. It was a set of drawings that was approved by Hitler.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to make this a real thing.
He was also on math.
Yes.
That's fair.
And the basic concept of it was they wanted to be basically a land battleship.
Yeah.
To the point to where the weaponry on this thing was the main gun from an actual like larger battleship at the time, 2 of the smaller guns, and 4 AA guns. I believe like the dimensions of it were like it was like 120 feet by 60 feet or something like that. Actually massive. Like it would have weighed like I think it was like it would have weighed like 800 tons or something
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Just a stupid massive fuck off tank.
So now that you have context, we were going to. They fought this thing.
Yeah, we fought it because that's exactly the kind of thing they need to throw into a campaign.
So it was a 6-hour session of them sieging an 800-ton battle tank.
Not to mention we had, 7, 8 players?
Yes.
Because we had a couple of guest players.
We had 8 people that day. So, suffice to say, it was pretty epic, actually.
It was pretty fun.
Plus, we were in the park, so we got to scream at each other.
Yeah, that shit was fun.
And I think that 2 of the funniest moments that happened during that was Callista basically when we got close to her, like, how are we gonna get on this tank? And I was like, I got it. Boots of spider climbing, and I just hopped off the Jeep onto the side of this tank and
And then-
walked up the side.
Yeah,
Oh
you
my God, I
moonwalked
remember
up.
that.
You moonwalked up the side of a tank.
Yeah, and I think I would like to also point out that I think this is a bit of imagery that we've forgotten. General problem that we have is we don't go in a lot of detail.
Oh, no,
we
really.
need to describe things better as DMs, me and you, Payton.
We do.
I'm just gonna make pictures. I'm gonna cheat when I make mine.
But I would like to remind you that Callista wasn't a music bard. He was a dance bard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And his dance was gun kata.
Yes.
Right.
So it's like canonical in fights. The way he inspired people was just doing fucking backflips. Callista was I was actually just playing male Bayonetta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were.
Yeah, that was basically what I was doing. So he didn't just hop onto the side of the ship. He probably actually just fucking break danced up the fucking side of it and did a backflip onto the top.
So okay, what's your second instance?
Put
of
on
this
the high
fight?
heels, Brandon. Put on
Followed
the
by
high heels.
this, we took out all the AA guns and we finally got to the last AA gun and we got to Tisha's character.
Yes.
no.
And the first thing I said to him was, "Hey, you want to join a rebellion?" And he looks me dead in the eyes. He goes, "You got dental?"
And then he turns and
And I
he's
go-
just like, "Do we have dental insurance,
like,
guys?"
Constantine, do we have dental?
And he's just like, I don't know.
It's like, this guy's asking if we have dental. It's
Tell
like,
him
well,
yes.
Tell him yes.
Tell him yes. We need more people. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, we offer dental insurance in our small rebellion against the Empire.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. And then he raised the dead.
Yep, that shit was sick. And then you guys fought a beholder.
Didn't he also teleport?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fun part about that, I think, was immediately, there was that not too long following that, we fought the boss of the session, during which Payton stood off to the side and gave his monologue, and during that, all of us were, like, in character, were actually, like, setting ourselves up as our actual positions, during which, me and I think it was Teddy just walked around the side and snuck behind the boss and surprised him mid monologue.
Yep. And with that, we will finish off the podcast for today, reminding me that I can never have nice things. This is the PnB podcast. I'm Payton.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Grant, and your friends are nice. Fuck you. Kind of.
Bye.